I want to tell you about a guy I know. This man, he can tell you everything about his favorite team and his favorite quarterback. Stats, jersey numbers, game logs, combine results. He's basically a walking sports encyclopedia. And you know what? Other men around him, they think that he's something special. They absolutely love it. They admire him for his knowledge. They think it's incredible. But one day, I asked this man a very simple question. Hey, man, what's your son into these days? And I got an eye roll. That one gesture told me everything that I needed to know.
Leaders are not born in a womb. They are forged through heat, pressure, and a whole lot of sweat. The Fire Forged Leader podcast serves the audience through exploring leadership at work, in the community, and with the family, using a practical perspective and real-life experiences from the host, Steve Baumgartner, and his guests in The Forge. Now, it's time to enter the Forge with the Fire Forged Leader.
Before we get started today, I wanted to tell you that there's going to be some changes coming to this podcast. First, the name's going to change along with the podcast artwork. Not going to release all that right now, but believe me, it's going to be very purpose-driven. I can't release it right now because for some odd reason, there's a lot of people out there stealing my stuff. I want to make sure that I keep this new name pure until I get it released. But ultimately, I'm going to start going down the road of faith and masculinity very directly. I'm not going to dance around this topic anymore and be half in and half out. There is only one way to win this culture war, and it's for men like you and men like me to stand in the place where God has called us and stand firm. If you haven't done so already, please make sure to give this show a 5-star rating. Also share it with someone who needs to hear this message today. Now, before you think I'm throwing shade at this guy, I'll say this. I've got jerseys too. I love football. I respect greatness. And there's nothing wrong with any of that. But here's the real question, fellas. When you stand at the gates of heaven, do you think God's really going to say, wow, you really knew a lot about that other man's career, didn't you? There's no chance of that. But he is going to ask you about your son, the boy that he gave to you, the one he entrusted to your care, the one you were supposed to lead. And I know this hits deep because I've lived it. When my older kids were younger, I didn't feel like my name was one worth wearing. I was broken. I was beaten down. I was rejected. I was ashamed of all the things that I had done. And instead of facing that pain, I escaped. My hiding place wasn't sports at the time. I absolutely despised sports because of how I got brought up. Instead, it was movies and it was TV. And I built up a collection of movies. I memorized everything. People admired my knowledge, my setup, my recommendations. But none of that was strength. It was weakness disguised as interest. It was distraction dressed up as intelligence. And while I was busy knowing everything about stories on the screen, I didn't know the first thing about the kids who were sitting in the room with me. I didn't lead them. I didn't shepherd them. Hell, I barely knew them. They saw me when I was angry, when I was yelling, when I was complaining, or when they got in trouble. That's it. And the Lord, He wrecked me with that truth over time. He didn't give me these kids to manage. He gave me these kids to lead. So if right now you're sitting there thinking, dang, I've been that guy, I want to give you 4 quick moves you can make this week. And these will help you rewrite your story. They're not complicated, but I'm going to warn you, they are costly. They're going to cost you things like your pride. They're going to cost you your preferences. They're going to cost you your comfort, but they're going to pay back something much greater. They're going to pay back in the area of relationship, respect, and ultimately legacy. First one is both figurative as well as literal, and that's take off the jersey. Put down the obsession with another man's story. I want you to start living your own. Your son doesn't need a fan. He needs a father. A man who leads from the front, not from the couch. Step number 2, I want you to step into your son's world. You don't just build connection by forcing this young man into your interests. You build it by entering his. If he's into Minecraft, if he's into Marvel, Legos, if he's into guitars or even insects, if it's healthy, you go and you learn that language. You don't have to love it, but you better show up like it matters because he matters. And when you do that, you're telling him something much deeper. You're telling him you are worthy of my attention. Your world is important to me and worth entering. And that's what a leader does. 3, I want you to give the gift of time. This is the most amazing and valuable gift that you can ever give. It's not money. It's not advice. It's uninterrupted, intentional time I'm talking about. It doesn't cost you anything except for those things you want to do. I want you to put down the phone. I want you to shut the laptop. I want you to give him your full, undivided presence. Even if it's just 15 minutes a day, these small deposits, they build deep roots with our children. 4 is name the escape and turn to God. We all have something to run to, a false comfort that numbs us. It could be your phone, social media, it could be sports, it could be pornography. You need to name what that is. You need to confront it. A good way to know what that is when you sit down for that intentional time with your child. What is sitting there eating at you that you believe needs more of your attention than that time you're spending with your son? Name it, confront it, and invite God into the void that it's been filling. Because when you start praying as a leader in your home, not as a failure, begging for a redo in your life, you shift the entire spiritual atmosphere of your household. I don't want you to think that you need to be perfect. This entire step number 4 is about pursuit. Actually, all the steps are about pursuit, and they can apply to anybody in your home. I talked about your son, but it could be your spouse. It could be your daughter. It could be anyone who is close to you, but it's about pursuit. It's about pursuing your family the way that God has pursued you in your life, with intentionality, with humility, and with love. Brother, you were never designed to wear another man's name. You were designed to carry your own name with honor, to lead your home with conviction, and to know your son, your wife, your daughters deeper than you know any fantasy team, to win hearts, not to win arguments. So here's the challenge of the week. Take off the jersey, turn off the screen, and tune into the life that God gave you specifically. Your legacy isn't found in who you cheer for. It's found in who you show up for.
You have just experienced the heat and pressure of the forge. Remember, words without action are meaningless. Now, after the heat of the forge, shape your thoughts, quench your brain, then put your new tools to use, adding to your leadership. Tune in next week for more lessons from the forge.